Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Janelle Novel. This edition's top stories. Young persons discuss harnessing their talents to drive the local economy. Honorable Richard Frederick to oversee local government reform with the introduction of elections. And fighting a disease now referred to as the COVID of the seas. St. Lucia's level of productivity and competitiveness is this week being thoroughly examined as the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council hosts the annual Productivity Awareness Week. Government's deliberate decision to integrate the youth into the fabric of the local economy through the creation of the Department of Youth Economy served as the catalyst for a deep dive into how young persons can be empowered and drive the economy. The National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, NCPC, cognizant of the importance of youth and its contribution to the development of St. Lucia, continued its observance of Productivity Awareness Week with a panel discussion aimed at exploring the topic, a strong youth economy as a catalyst for economic growth and national development. To accomplish this, however, founder and president of the Youth Development and Empowerment Program, Anya Charles, said there are a number of hurdles that must firstly be overcome.
Some of the challenges and limitations that our youth face, I believe, start from school. Not everyone is academically inclined, and schools offer conventional academia. But we do not focus on individuals with different skill sets. And this is by no means to say that the curriculum schools offer, it's not important. I'm not saying that at all. What I believe must happen or should happen, schools should determine skill sets outside of the conventional academia. We need to be able to nurture our young people's passions and dreams, and I think it's a question we need to ask ourselves. How do we nurture creativity from schools? Another limitation our young people face would be access to capital. Those who are leaving school and all they have with them are dreams. It is difficult for our young people to get access to capital to live out those dreams. I also think lack of opportunity and lack of information. Again, not everyone is afforded the opportunity or the access to internet or networking. And overall, speaking with the right people, it's important that we need to educate our young people on the difference between limited liability and LLCs, and overall legally registering their brand.
Treasurer of the St. Lucia National Youth Council, Steffi Alfred, highlighted areas of priority for the youth economy. She noted that the youth economy is vast and should not be limited to entrepreneurship, but should be approached with a more encompassing strategy.
One of the areas, because again, in my view, I don't think the youth economy is solely entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship as a sector, entrepreneurship as a space where we are now developing young people. Financial literacy is a serious issue among St. Lucians, among people generally. So when you look at financial literacy among young people, it's even a more serious situation. Our young people do not understand the importance of record keeping. Our young people do not understand the importance of filing taxes.
Our young people are not taught.
Our young people are not taught. They're told, hey, you need to become an entrepreneur because we don't have jobs for you. You need to become an entrepreneur. But are they trained? No. So I think in all the development of entrepreneurship and everything that we want to do and going into sectors of VR, which are 100% the direction that we should be going as it relates to technology, but the basis of entrepreneurship is not being taught, or young people are not being trained in this section.
Innovation is now the driving force of the youth economy, so says the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College's head of the Innovation Hub and Gateways program, Brent St. Catherine. St. Catherine, highlighting the need to capitalize on technology, explained that the college is creating 5 innovation labs to address technology training for the youth.
The first one is an ICT media lab, and this is where we want to get into, as I spoke about, app development, software development, animation, and so forth. We need to get on board with these things in St. Lucia, and we need young people who are more creative than older people. That's been proven to get involved in that, okay? The other lab we have, and I'll try not to mention all of them, the other lab we have, which is very important, is a virtual reality lab. And virtual reality is becoming extremely important right now. I mean, given the restrictions, the travel restrictions when it comes to COVID, we see people doing a lot of virtual tours, and that is becoming a very profitable business.
Right.
Also, in terms of education, virtual reality is a tool that is being used overseas that we haven't adopted here. And I'll give you an example. It's very expensive to do heart surgery and these things. You go abroad, it's very costly. Here, we cannot afford the equipment and that kind of training. However, we can do it using virtual reality.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to work on a live heart, but you can actually use tools and perform that kind of surgery, you know, within a safe environment, not on an actual person.
I hope not.
So what I'm saying is that we are developing these labs because we are aware that there is a transition and we need to bring the youth on board to be able to profit from that.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development identifies the area in which urgent action is needed to ensure sustainable progress in human development, and among these, the employment of youth represents a priority area that is attracting growing attention. Former youth advocate Calix George Jr. explained that proper mechanisms must be implemented to determine pertinent data, including youth-operated businesses, contribution to GDP, and youth employment, to name a few.
I think part of the challenge is first defining the involvement of young people across all these sectors. And of course, there are some areas where young people are gravitating towards. So culture and creative industries is certainly one of them. Yep. Renewable energy is another area. We're hearing of course, well, ICT in a very general way, digital economy. So a lot of these nice colors that we hear about, orange economy, green economy, that's young people there who can certainly be driving that. And I think the question is, what do they require to be able to get better access? Now, you may have a situation where, let's say, in the construction sector, you know, where you have set players, usually very large players. Is there a possibility from the public sector side? Can we provide some level of a handicap towards youth-owned enterprises so that they can get a share of the pie, you know, in terms of how we work in the tendering processes? Do they get some sort of advantage? Do they get some sort of maybe a quota or some sort of idea where we can know, or across the government perhaps, in terms of public procurement, it should be perhaps worked in that we know that, yes, companies that are driven by young people can in fact get part of that pie.
The word youth, by definition, is the period between childhood and adult age. According to the United Nations, the global youth population is expected to total 1.29 billion in 2030 and almost 1.34 billion in 2050. From the Government Information Service, I am Janelle Norville. The importance of standards in the business sector came in for sharp focus Thursday as St. Lucia observed World Standards Day under the theme Shared Vision for a Better World. Honorable Emma Hippolyte is the Minister for Commerce, Manufacturing, Business Development, Cooperatives and Consumer Affairs.
My ministry recognizes the importance of businesses in developing economies like ours to continually work at ensuring the quality of their products and services conform to internationally recognized standards. The significance of this cannot be overemphasized. Our businesses which adopt ISO standards stand to benefit tremendously. For instance, companies implementing the quality management systems standard ISO 9001, which ensures quality and safety with regard to processes, gain increased customer satisfaction due in part to the trust created from the application of these standards. In addition, the resulting operational efficiencies enable them to benefit from cost savings and increase probabilities for sustainability.
Minister Hippolyte lauded the efforts of the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards in championing the National Standards Mark, which has opened a window of opportunities for the private sector beyond the island's shores.
Locally, the St. Lucia Standards Mark has been actively used in the bottled water sector, with increasing demands in other manufacturing sectors. Companies achieve increased market presence through the use of the mark, based on the confidence of the consuming public in the quality associated with the processes and bringing these products to market. Let me take this moment to urge all local businesses to take advantage of the benefits the standard mark affords.
World Standards Day is observed annually on the 14th of October. St. Lucia also joined the international community Thursday, 14th October, in observing World Sight Day. Each year, the second Thursday of October is set aside as the annual day of awareness of vision impairment, including blindness. This year, World Sight Day is commemorated under the theme, Love Your Eyes. Meantime, the government of St. Lucia has taken concrete steps to assist the blind and visually impaired better participate in the education system. Students and teachers from the island's 6 special needs schools have concluded training on the use of Bookshare, a specialized online reading system, and the use of the Braille One device, which allows the visually impaired to interact with a computer without assistance. Details in this report by Jesse Leos of the Department of Sustainable Development.
The provision of reading support for students with print disabilities project in St. Lucia advanced with a Bookshare and Braille technology training for select students and teachers from special needs schools on the island. The participants learned how to navigate Bookshare, the world's largest digital accessible libraries of e-books for individuals with visual impairment, severe dyslexia, cerebral palsy, and other reading barriers, as well as training on the use of the Braille One device, which enables the visually impaired to interact with a computer independently.
This project allows for equitability in education. It brings access to learning to students who have conditions that would serve as a barrier to that learning. And it helps them beyond that barrier and gives them access to print material that their print disabilities would have otherwise caused limits to their accessing.
That was Dale Saint-Just, the Special Education Officer in the Department of Education, speaking at the training's opening ceremony. The overall project is a collaborative undertaking between the Departments of Education and Sustainable Development and is funded by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO through its participation fund in the sum of US $20,000. Secretary General of the St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO is Marcia Symphorian.
Among marginalized and vulnerable groups, UNESCO pays special attention to children with disabilities, who globally are overrepresented in the population of those who do not have access to education. This project will contribute greatly to increasing access to educational materials by the students of the Lady Gordon Opportunity Center and other institutions involved in the project. In so doing, it lends its support to the objective of education for all and ensuring that no child is left behind.
The training was held at the Lady Gordon Opportunity Center and facilitated by Bookshare developer personnel virtually.
We just want to thank you all so much for the opportunity to work with you on this project. The speakers from Sustainable Development, Education, and UNESCO have really said it all. Benetech has been devoted for 20 years through our Bookshare initiative to serving the needs of students and adults with print disabilities around the world. And we are thrilled that Bookshare will be a part of the St. Lucia education initiatives.
St. Lucia joins over 94 countries and territories that are making use of Bookshare technology. Acting Chief Education Officer Cyrus Sipal commends the project for fostering greater independence for learners with reading barriers.
So we have to be prepared to get outside of the box and be creative in meeting those needs. So that's why I'm so excited, Sir Dale and Madam Principal and Ms. Symphorian, about this program. And then I'm excited about it because it is an online program also. And why I'm excited about it? We are also promoting that we don't want the device simply to be, for example, the children are at home, they put on the device, and they are just simply following the teacher, teaching them the same way the teacher would have taught if they were at school, chalk and talk. We want programs to be embedded in that device. So by the time the teacher will say, okay, you will not see me for the next 30 minutes, the child now will be able to access the programs that are available to continue the process of learning.
The Bookshare and Braille technology training was held on 11th and 12th October 2021. For the Department of Sustainable Development, I am Jessie Leonce reporting.
Minister of Responsibility for Housing and Local Government, Honorable Richard Frederick, says efforts at local government reform are pressing forward with plans for local government elections. He made the announcement during the installation ceremony of the Beaufort North Constituency Council. More from Homadi Mark.
The Beaufort North Constituency Council saw the installment of 9 new councillors. At a small ceremony held at the constituency, the councillors took an oath of office and pledged to work towards the betterment of their communities. Lincoln Francis was appointed as chair at the constituency council. Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs and Parliamentary Representative for Beaufort North, Honorable Moses Jabatis, shared his expectations of the newly appointed entity.
I would love to see our cultural industry become not only activities where Beaufort North people enjoy and laugh and dance, but our people can find employment, not only in St. Lucia, but outside of St. Lucia, through their cultural talents and what they can produce. I would love to see our environment. We have possibly the most beautiful constituency. We still have Sus and streams flowing out of mountains in Beaufort North, where people go to get water below the hills. We still have a lot of that. And I'd love to see us preserve those things.
Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for housing and local government, Honorable Richard Frederick, urged the councillors to work diligently in the interest of the constituency as government works towards the election of local government.
Very soon, the government has embarked upon the election of local council. And so, every council must show its worth. You must show your people that your interest spans in every nook and cranny of the constituency. Deliver to the needy. Elevate the standard of living in as much as the resources you have available will permit you. And leave them with no choice but to vote for you when local government elections are brought to bear.
The minister announced that the government of St. Lucia has provided the constituency councils in the country with additional support to assist them in achieving their mandate.
I had to make the announcement, and it's the first time I'm making it, that Christopher Hunt will be consultant to the ministry attached to the Department of Local Government and will be working with each and every council in terms of creativity. What I've asked him to do is to start preparing and charting the way forward. Nuka fe competition between councils. Nuka kuma seksa and masav konuka ejwen laja. We will look for $5,000 sponsorship. The council that wins will get a $5,000 prize, and we do it every year to motivate our people.
The swearing-in ceremony of the Beaufort North Constituency Council was held on Wednesday, 13th October 2021. From the Government Information Service, Homadi Mark reporting.
This is NTN Nightly. Primus Hutchinson is off, but coming up next, the Bankers Association's generous move this Financial Information Month. Stay with us.
The Department of Finance has introduced the Electronic Government Procurement System, EGP. The EGP system has many benefits for stakeholders involved in government procurement. Government seeks to adopt a strategic approach to its purchasing process. Electronic government procurement improves efficiency of procurement and enhances data capture. The EGP is innovative and will automate the sequence from notification, receiving and evaluation of submissions to final contract award. It improves communication between vendors and government agencies, provides greater transparency, and builds confidence in the vendor community through increased access to information. To participate, vendors, suppliers, and contractors must register on the Electronic Government Procurement Platform. EGP, improving efficiency and transparency in the acquisition of goods, works, and services.
Welcome back. The coronavirus has expanded its detrimental impact on the world's economy and health systems. While governments employ measures to combat this pandemic, there is a similar battle raging beneath the seas. Marine biologists are fighting a disease which has fast earned the term COVID of the seas. More in this report from Miguel Morissette.
The coral reefs in St. Lucia, by extension the Caribbean, is currently facing numerous issues. However, the most prominent threat is the Stony coral tissue loss disease. This is a new lethal disease which was first reported in Florida in 2014, which eventually traveled to the Caribbean region over a period of time. Further details were received by fisheries biologist Monique Cauldron surrounding what is commonly referred to as the COVID of the sea.
We noticed instances of it in St. Lucia as early as last summer when we got some reports from dive operators, especially in the area of Soufrière. Unfortunately, this disease moved very quickly, a lot faster than we were able to mobilize the resources to be able to halt it in its tracks. So with stony coral tissue loss disease, what happens is that the actual tissue on the coral is diseased. A lot of people think that the coral are just rocks under the water, but coral actually exists with a coral skeleton which is covered by coral tissue. So the disease actually targets the tissue and wastes away the tissue, leaving behind only the coral skeleton, which by itself is essentially a dead coral. This leaves room for algae and other things to come and colonize and take over the coral reef, depleting the number of healthy coral reefs we have on island. That also reduces habitat for fish, which would have a negative effect, reducing our fish population numbers.
What causes stony coral tissue loss disease? The causal agent remains unknown, but is suspected to be a bacterium, although recent studies suggest a virus.
Right now, scientists are still trying to determine the exact cause of it. We have narrowed it down to possibly being a virus that may be transmitted by the ballast water or the water that's taken in on shipping boats, large cargo boats and cruise ships. So there's a theory that water is taken in from Florida and has been deposited around the Caribbean as these ships go throughout the Caribbean.
The fisheries biologist Monique Cauldron made a special plea to St. Lucians and non-citizens to play a part in combating this sea pandemic, whilst the Department of Fisheries, by extension the Ministry of Agriculture, continues to explore the science which will help curb this problem.
We can take several actions, which include reducing our pollution, trying to limit our use of harmful sunscreens. So there are some sunscreens that are actually reef safe, which would not harm our coral reefs, and also trying to limit the consumption of herbivorous fish and species such as parrotfish and sea urchins, which actually graze on the algae, reducing the algae cover on the reef and allowing the reef to thrive.
Coral reefs provide an important ecosystem for life underwater. As coral reefs are destroyed, coastlines become more susceptible to damage and floodings from storms, hurricanes, and cyclones, which places our island home in jeopardy. Reporting from the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security, and Rural Development, I am Miguel Morissette.
As part of its activities for Financial Information Month, FIM, the Bankers Association of St. Lucia makes a generous visit to the Missionaries of Charity in Hospital Road for a show. The organization, which also consists of the Mother Teresa's Home, is the first to receive support from the Bankers Association since the launch of FIM this year. We have more in this report by Ross Daniel.
The Missionaries of Charity is an international Catholic religious congregation who has vowed to give wholehearted free service to the poor in the community. The local branch of the order has been attending to the less fortunate and the elderly in the Foreshore community for approximately 25 years through the Mother Teresa's Home. Today, the organization is the first recipient of a donation of essential food items from the Bankers Association of St. Lucia.
It is always a humbling experience when we visit the less fortunate among us. It reminds us how fragile life can be and how much we take for granted. It has become something of a staple during Financial Information Month, where we reach out to the less fortunate among us, to show some love, if you may, to those among us, our brothers and sisters who may not have as much as we do.
According to the chairperson of the Activities Committee, Vernell Joseph, the plan for the association is to make this charity drive an annual event for Financial Information Month.
It's another year, Financial Information Month 2021, and it's about giving back. As part of our corporate social responsibility, we are giving to the missionaries of charity here at For Our Show, and we believe in assisting, we believe in helping out. There are a few ladies here who needed our assistance, and it is part of our culture to give back to society.
One of the members of the congregation, Sister Creeper, thanked the association for respecting what they do and providing them with the much needed supplies to do it.
We have now 10 of them, and more or less there are like one lady is 99, two of them, one is 97. So there also they feel at home with us, because that way we take care of them. They really feel at home.
Officials from the collective group of financial institutions say that a visit to 3 more homes are on the list of activities for the remainder of October. Reporting from the Government Information Service, Ross Daniel.
We now take a look at the weather.
Forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. It's partly cloudy and hazy, becoming cloudy at times with some light to moderate showers. Saharan dust will continue to cause a reduction in visibility and air quality over the Eastern Caribbean region during the next couple of days. Persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to continue to exercise caution. Seas moderate to locally rough with northeasterly swells 4 to 7 feet or 1.2 to 0.1 meters. Small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility and above normal seas. Moist and unstable conditions over the extreme northern portion of our region will continue to cause cloudiness, showers, and possibly isolated thunderstorms over these areas. A weak tropical wave located just to the east of the Lesser Antilles is expected to affect mainly the Windward Islands and areas further south into Friday. Another tropical wave located over the central tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour.
That brings us to the end of NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Janelle Norville.